Yo! Did I leave you all in anticipation? I suddenly forgot how to do a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve. This is GI Joburg. It's episode 288 entitled Mike the Hunter. Are you scratching your heads or do you know exactly what's around the corner? We'll find out in a minute. But I'm not alone in this jaunt. It's Deadly Pencils, aka Paul. Hello, my friend.
Hey, dude. And all I want to say on this episode is shh. That's a small spoiler for something that's going to come later, but that's so cool. Anyway,
What?
hey, everybody.
That's mysterious. Okay, I'm in the dark too. Rob's here too. The trio.
Here I
is
am,
united.
and
yeah,
I don't know what Paul's talking about either, so I'm very excited to learn about.
Right off the bat, guys, I have to have some unfortunate news kick us off because last episode, 2 weeks ago, we devoted the first part of the episode to Legends of the Hidden Force.
Yes,
the Kickstarter was currently funding O-Ring Ninjas. Yeah, ringing any bells? Okay, so
absolutely, I was here for that. I remember.
They have cancelled the Kickstarter in its initial format.
Oh,
because they are looking to relaunch it in a more, I suppose, manageable form. Because, yeah, I mean, towards the final days of any Kickstarter, if it's not funding immediately, if it's not a right at the gate success, if it is kind of coming down to the wire, a tough decision must be made by the creators as to whether or not to proceed or whether they need to go back to the drawing board and maybe set a more manageable goal at first. So that Matt, Chad, and Darren decided to do exactly that. So if you are keen on Legends of the Hidden Force, don't worry, they will be back, and these toys will see production. But they need to kind of strategize and rejig things a little bit for the initial funding goal. That's my news.
It's also and this is my comment on your news because I actually wanted to speak about the same thing. Also, I believe Valiverse had the same kind of issue initially on Kickstarter, so this is a good sign. I think
so too. Did a little retooling.
Yeah, man,
like stronger than ever.
Valiverse is today blowing the barn doors off at the moment. So
exactly. So
that's my comment on Steven's news.
I'm grateful Bobby didn't pack up his toys and call it a day and
absolutely
go back to designing for someone else's toy line. So it's testimony to that tenacity, and we wish the boys all of the best.
Absolutely,
for those amazing ninja toys. Rob, do you have a life? Tell me, catch me up.
Do I have a life? I unfortunately don't have a life currently. I'm very tired. Like we spent like a week moving tons of boxes, and the next couple of days will be even more boxes. We closed the store. Me and our Saturday man, our Saturday dude Ryan, me and him closed the shop for the last time in our current location on Saturday. And now it's just packing everything up for Comic-Con Cape Town, as well as packing the rest of it up to move it to the new location. So we're halfway through, I think, basically, and we got a little more stretch to go. But I'm already like I don't even know like what's a cool Afrikaans term for being really tired.
It's really tired. Whatever, man.
As well, and is push tired.
Well, that's the one that my mind went to instantly. But I was like, kids
weird look fuck. But it's funny. My comment on Rob's news.
Yes, comment on my news.
I've had the same week as you, Rob. I've also been packing boxes for Comic-Con next week.
Oh my goodness.
Good times.
Well, gents, I'm about to pick you both up. This is going to get you pumped because waiting in the wings. No, we're moving the agenda on. Waiting in the wings, we have a guest for this podcast. He's a toy YouTuber with a very popular channel. He's got a firm love for GI Joe Classified. But what really captured my attention is the fact that he's making exceptional Playmotion films with them. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mike the Hunter. Hello, Mike.
What is happening? Fellow GI Joe fans, it is good to be here. Steve, Paul, Rob, thank you very much for having me on.
Smooth,
So
dude. Done this
My
before.
goodness.
1 or 2 times. Mike, thank you for joining us, firstly. And you are a family man, so your time is short. I can appreciate that. And I don't know how you do it, but you are cranking out some incredible films. The first one, GI Joe Classified, the movie, and then the second one, Kamakura, Tale from Tokyo. Am I getting that right? Sorry, I'm doing
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Dude, you. I've been taking notes, man, big time. Because
You've
you bring
certainly
something
done the
to the game.
impossible, because I think like we on our side, we do the vintage toys, but like for a long time I think we were like, you can't do good classified movies, they're too articulated, they're too big, you can't do anything cool with those things.
You
And
need
then
more
Steven
than one
sends me the
person.
links to these films, and I'm like, okay, I guess I got to eat those words, because they're fantastic. Like, you've done things with classifieds I didn't think you could do in Playmotions, as we like to call them.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's. I'll tell you what, man. I used to do these types of films, but they were very short, and they were with Marvel Legends, and they were a few years back where, I'd set up my camera on my desk and just get a couple legends and just try to do their voices the best I can. I did one with Punisher not too long ago, and it was like a Marvel versus Star Wars series too, where my Marvel Legends would fight my Black Series figures in my own house, fighting over territory and stuff. But that was the last of it until recently, when I started getting into these GI Joe Classified series figures. I thought, man, they're so amazing with the looks of them, the detail, like you said, Rob, the articulation, the weapons. And I thought, dude, I have so much vision for these characters, not only just seeing them in their cartoons, but just the figures themselves have their own look, as opposed to the cartoons. So I was like, I want to create a world where these characters come to life, these figures in particular come to life. And, how it started is me searching up videos to see if anyone else has done that. Sure enough, GI Joburg pops up, and I'm like, that is it. That is exactly what I get it.
That's what I was trying to do.
Joes. They went out to a lake. They went out to a forest, and they just played and shot all day and came up with this masterpiece. I was like, these guys are the inspiration. So, yeah, if it weren't for you guys,
thanks, man.
I would have done it.
Wow. Sweet.
Well, things get complicated in a different way when you upscale to 6 inches, and we'll get into the brass tacks of it in a minute. But I guess by way of introduction on GI Joburg, we'd like to get to know our guests a little bit more, particularly by asking them about their favorite action figures. Like, what kind of guy is Mike the Hunter? Is he a Zartan man? Is he a stalker kind of guy? Or is Outback the new flavor of the month? What are your favorite GI Joe action figures, and Cobra action figures for that matter? In fact, let's narrow it down, man. What is number one? What is the top dog for each faction?
So for me, it's got to be Stuart Outback, and
I nailed it. Kind of.
The reason, I mean, not only was he my favorite, like he became also my favorite from just making him like the leader out of the film, but the detail on the old Stuart is so good as compared to the younger Stuart. He just looks so badass. He looks so gruesome. He looks so tough with his gray beard and like the details in his eyes. He just looks like a straight up ass kicker, man. I love this figure out of them all, hands down. It's him and then Beachhead. Beachhead I like next.
Yeah, Beachhead's rad, eh?
Well, it's interesting to me that Tiger Force Outback was what they led the charge with in Classified. I suppose, the wisdom of getting the variant one out first, because everyone's going to buy the original release. But yeah, it has also increased the popularity of Tiger Force Outback through the roof. I mean, it was a rare-ish figure back in the day. It didn't see release in the United States. So yeah, there was obviously interest in getting this kind of figure design that has exclusivity. But now that the Outback, or the Classified series Outback, is such an astoundingly good figure, people like it just based on the figure's merits alone. It's going to be interesting to maybe even do a bit of a straw poll amongst Classified collectors and find out which Outback is their go-to Outback now.
Mm-hmm.
Can they not I mean, you say he's old Outback, and I like that. I like the dynamic of the old soldier. There's not enough of that in Joe. As I'm getting up there in years, I realize, shit, I'm older than most of the GI Joes now, and that's something I never used to imagine when I was in my 20s and 30s and whatnot. Yeah, dude, we're veterans. We would have aged out of the team by now. Sheesh.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Watch out. Old boys. Okay, Mike. Well, hang on. Let's not get past this just yet. Cobra figure.
Cobra
Who's
figure.
rocking your world?
I'm gonna have to go with the Destro. He looks the most original out of all of them. I would go with the Cobra Commander, but it's not the Cobra Commander that I like. The one that we got from the classified series. The Destro, though, the perfect shine on that chrome head, that popping collar of his, the nice what do you call it? The chain he's got. There's a word for it. Not really a chain.
Medallion?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Medallion. And that one, it just looks so OG. I'm glad they didn't change or alter his looks with that one too much. So I'm gonna have to go with Destro.
It's still pretty fresh, though. There are elements that feel, there's a lot more texture work going into his suit than the OG. The OG just kind of had like a black jumpsuit. But yeah, man, that Destro, it's svelte, pretty teched out. Okay, maybe I'll pick him up if I see him on shelves still, because you can still find a handful of the first series classified here in Australia, at random places.
I had to pick up the carded version too, just to have on my wall, like the picture of
with
Destro.
The eyebrows.
Yeah, I had to hang that one up on my wall just for the heck of it. I love that figure. But I always have to, mention my next favorites, and that has to be the Crimson Twins. I really like the way the Crimson Twins came out with their, their face sculpts. They have like such a, I don't know. They have kind of like a cocky face to me with a little smirk on the side. Like,
totally.
Yeah. We're here to handle business, but we'll kick your ass if we have to. They're badass together, so yeah, you got to go with those two.
Yeah, man. The Cobras give you a lot more room to kind of play up the theatricality. I love the interplay that your Cobra characters have in the films. You really get into the nitty gritty of how these guys relate to one another, and it's funny as hell, man. It's really, really good. For anyone scratching their heads as to these films right now, don't worry, I got your back. The links are in the description below. So scroll down, have a look, and then come back to this podcast if you so choose, because these really are worth your time. I mean, just the amount of time that you put into them, Mike. Astounding. I think I want to start there. Like GI Joe the movie, it's a 40-minute feature when it's edited and completed. How long did it take to assemble all the footage, edit, voice, sound design? Because this thing is very, very layered.
That one had to, that took about 2 to 3 months to, piece all that together. And, that's because I did take days off, to be with the family and not be with my figures every day. But,
understandably, dude, this can't be a full-time job. This is absolutely for the love.
Yeah.
The fact that you're able to devote as much time as you do, testimony to how you're crushing life, bro.
Yeah, you have to space it out very much, especially if you really want to get the look right. Like if you got to travel to somewhere where there's a lot of mountains, a lot of open field.
Scale.
Unfortunately, most of it was to scale. Most of it was in my backyard just to save time. But you got to travel places. You got to get all your toys. You got to put them in a tote, take them with you. And the hard part is just holding the camera and playing with the toys at the same time to make sure the movement is just right within the camera.
Did you have any assistance in that respect?
I did, and my lovely lady Mary, she did help me out with there's a scene in the first GI Joe film I did where Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are really going at it, and Snake Eyes sprints at Storm Shadow, straight up tackles him through a metal door, and they go flying through the door and they roll. I couldn't do that by myself, especially with the camera following both of the characters in mid-air, mid-tackle. So I had my lady hold the action figures, strap a rubber band to hold them together, pinch them together just right with the pose, and push them to the door as I move the camera. That was the assistance I had in that one. So yeah,
Complex.
if I really want to get those shots, I need a second hand in there. Either my lady will help me or my kid will help me.
Unbelievable, man. Yeah, look, I'm
Amazing.
surprised that's the only shot that comes to mind, because a lot of it is very technical. The fight choreography alone is, well, it's the standout feature because you've really leaned into this scale and this level of articulation big time. Not just in terms of the posing shot to shot, which is also excellent. Like, there's a lot of character that I see in the way that you pose things quite meticulously. To give that character and to let us know through body language what the figure is going through. But the fighting, my God, man. I mean, the first Joe film, yeah, there's a lot of gunplay and plenty of martial arts in that Storm Shadow Snake Eyes brawl, and Crocmaster versus Spirit as well. But like, it's really on display right the way through in Kamakura.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was from
off, man.
Yeah, that was just doing so much from the first one. I was like, okay, the first one was cool, you know, the fight scenes were good, but I really want to make it as realistic as possible with the sword fighting. Sword fighting in Kamakura, it's very difficult to get that shilling ding type of sound while the figures are hitting swords when they're hitting them so much together. So yeah, that's very challenging, but took many takes to get those sword fights just right.
Don't we know it, man? I wanted to something I wanted to mention that I like, or that you said earlier, is it's getting the camera and moving the figure at the same time and getting it right. And it's one thing like to actually sit with the toys on your desk and have, you know, them in martial arts poses and get these like cool action moments going. It's a whole different ball game when you're trying to get that exact thing that you're seeing in front of you to look that good on camera, because then it's all angles, trying to get that right. Then also, you know, getting the lighting kind of right as well, of, you know, so that there's not too much shadow on the face. And then you do this crazy thing that I absolutely love, is that you move the camera with the action, but the camera is not panning necessarily. It kind of chases it. I'm trying to think of the word, but it kind of expands a little bit left and right. If you're not, yeah, you know what I mean, because you did it. But it's so cool that like that you did that, and it's so great. I love seeing that, because that is something I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of that kind of camera movement. And when I saw your fight scenes, the one thing that it reminded me of was Street Fighter, specifically Street Fighter 5. And I just, that whole kinetic, that whole way you managed to get the whole 1, 2, 3 breathe in and then out, boom. You know, that like, it's so cool. You really get a lot of that breathing time. I love it.
Yeah, I really wanted to, like, you could sit there and have the figures just fighting in one, you know, one scene, one shot, but I really try to just keep the eyes moving at all times. Like, I want you to follow the fist, then out of nowhere I want an elbow to come in, then the next shot I want a leg to be hit in the face, like, just like, whoa, what just happened? But the sound effects guide you through it, so you know what happened. You're like, oh, okay, like that dude just got kneed right to the face, and you hear the crack into the nose. Like, those types of, I learned that from watching a lot of action movies growing up with
Jeez, dude, I could swear that you were like a stunt coordinator or fight choreographer as your real job, because it's on point. But anyways, it's not gush.
It tells
too
a
much,
good story.
Guys. It's not cool. We got a question from our viewer live in the audience, member of the Patreon tribe, the Joe Force. What do we call him, Paul?
The Berg Force.
Forgive me, it's earlier. Hey, Spoon Killer, welcome to the session, dude. He wants to know from you, Mike, how do you deal with the limited amount of vehicles at the 6-inch scale? Doesn't that limit you quite a bit with Playmotion?
Oh, good question. 100%. Yes, that is a very good question. That's one of my most challenging things right now, is finding vehicles. In my first film, I had a mix of like 3 3/4-inch vehicles, and I also had, you know, luckily some like Barbie vehicles and stuff. But that's about as close as I can get to vehicles to fit these guys. Is either Barbie, Bratz. Some people find some other things like RC type cars, or you know, just toys from other lines, like maybe like Fortnite or something. But that is so
Lightyear by any chance?
Yes, Buzz Lightyear like that, for example. It's like, dude, where am I going to find a jet for Destro, Cobra, Baroness to fit inside? And sure enough, a buddy hit me up and it was like, yeah, Buzz Lightyear, dude, $25 at Walmart. So it's a hit and miss.
Things, they can't get rid of that stuff quick enough nowadays. The movie did not do the kind of numbers that they were expecting. But hey, we aren't complaining. So yes, that is the sort of the more prototype. Was it the X1 jet? I don't know the designation. It's a really sleek one. Whew,
Thank you. Yeah, I had to just paint it black, get some red in there, get some Cobra red, and see how it looks in the shot. And I did. It was a rushed one too. I had to do that within a day or two because I knew like the next day, okay, I'm gonna shoot the jet scene. So I only have one day because it was raining all week. I had a sunny day, so it was a bit rushed. But you can turn a lot of vehicles into a GI Joe type vehicle, especially with Barbie cars. I recently just went to the swap meet and bought a Barbie boat, and it's all pink. It's all, you know, baby blue and stuff, really girly, but I'm going to sand it down, paint it up, make it silver. And this boat is going to be used in the next film that I do, featuring, it's going to be an underwater scene. Let's say that. And I'm sure you can know who's going to be in this one. We got Torpedo and we got Shipwreck. So that's going to be fun. I don't want to give too much away.
This can't come out quick enough, I'm sure. You're like, I'm ready, guys. Come on, Hasbro. Deliver.
My body
is
ready.
Thanks for the question, Spoon Killer. Keep them coming, buddy.
Yes, good question. Thank you very much.
I got a question, if you don't mind.
It is an interview, Paul.
I know, but it's more like because I was worried I just like stepped on your nuts there, Steve, because I'm like really curious about this. Do you do your own music? Because it is cool if you do, and if you don't, it's also cool.
No, I don't. I use a service called Storyblocks where I have to search for a lot of royalty-free music, and luckily they have a lot of action type. Oh, excuse me, got a phone call. But yeah, it's a lot of different types of tracks you got to go through because a lot of them sound cheesy, a lot of them don't sound right. So
yeah.
That's where I get my main music. I can't use real songs.
Okay.
Oh God, I wish I could
use
real songs.
We know the struggles.
Yeah.
And then your sound design on top of that, like the Foley work, it's so good. It makes me wonder, like, did you record that for that scene specifically? I'm talking about drinks glasses clinking and, you know, everything that makes up the sound design. Like, it feels very purpose recorded. But I know that if you're sourcing those sounds, that's time consuming, man. Every single little click clack.
That's where a lot of the time consumption comes from too, is like finding the right sounds, because the sound effects that you get online, they're not going to match with what you have imagined, such as, you know, those glass clinks. But some of them, like, let's say if I'm not getting that right type of fight sound, or I'm not getting that right type of punch, I'll try to do something into the mic, you know, something like that to mix in with other sounds. But for the most part, the gunshots are the most difficult because there's a lot of different weapons that these Joes have, and I don't want all of the weapons to sound the same. So getting that right type of gunfire sound effect, that's the most challenging one right there. I get those online.
Oftentimes I'm watching fan films and I'm like, yeah, that is a stock sound effect that I'm hearing a little bit too often. And it does pull you out slightly. So, dude, the amount of time you've invested in sourcing a diverse soundscape, it all works out, because there wasn't a single moment when I was like, yeah, okay, I've heard that before. That sounds familiar. That's a real callback to the previous scene. No, man, it was, And I know that takes time.
Yeah, there's also slowing down too and speeding up. I did a lot of that too with the gunshots. Like, you know, make it slower if I wanted to have more, you know, bang bang. If I wanted to sound more of like a, you know, machine gun, little Uzi, you know, speed up the sound a little bit, and it sounds more like it.
Yeah, no, very filmic. Like, you have a vision for this stuff that really feels like Hollywood could be taking notes. Honestly, well, anyways, did I say I was going to stop gushing?
Oh man. You guys are making me blush.
You know it, baby. Oh, okay. So we've spoken a bit about the music. Look, there's one effect that I want you to break down for us, and it's gotten a lot of rave in the comment section on both films because it does crop up twice. It's the smash through, what is it, like a perspex screen? Something that you've slashed. Basically, Zartan takes a run at a GI Joe window and jumps through it in the HQ in the first film, and in the second one, I think it's Kamakura jumps. He takes Akuma, tackles him through a window.
Yes.
In both instances, you've got an actual screen that you've pushed the figures through in slow motion, and it looks so good.
Yeah, so the first one, Zartan just jumping through, that was a GI Joe classified box plastic screen that I cut out. I taped it to sort of like a bookshelf thing that I had. I taped it to like all the edges, so when I pushed those figures through, it wouldn't just pop off. So I had to tape it very tightly, and then cut maybe about 6 to 7 slits, enough for the figure to just push smoothly through. And sure enough, it's like I must have pushed Zartan through that plastic at least like 15 times before it looked good enough, because obviously the pieces will snag on the figure, or he'll go out too fast or too slow. So it helps a lot, when you just pre-cut it, push him through, and the sound effects make the rest of the magic. And then the second one, I thought, you know what, damn, I don't have any plastic right now, but since this is some type of like a dojo type window I wanted to make, it was out of tissue paper that I taped all together, and then of course pre-slit again, and they went through like butter. It was perfect.
So cool. And it has maximum impact. I love it. I mean, everybody loves it. It's a good shot. It's a great shot. I'm curious about your process in terms of like editing. So would you say would you typically shoot all of your footage and then arrange it in an editor and then go and do all your voices, go and do your soundtrack, go and do your sound effects, or how do you like to like pop your scenes on your track, on your editing track? I know that this is pretty technical, but a lot of people who listen to these things love making their own play motions, and maybe this will help them make it better.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I'll shoot the figures first. I'll try to get as many fight movements with the camera. Then from there, I will upload all the scenes, start from beginning to end, adding in little snippets here and there, little pieces. From there, I do the sound effects, right? I have to do all, sorry, let me go back. I got to trim it to where there's a punch, there's a kick. Like I said earlier, you got to cut out all the extra fat. Then come the sound effects. You got to line them up just right. Make sure the is right where the figure touches the other one. Then after that, once the sound effects are good, I add in the music. That's a lot easier to do after the sound effects are done. Once the music's right, everything lines up. Now for the fun part, the voices. Just going over in between. So when I have all of my fights taken care of, my punches, my kicks, in between I can add a where it's needed.
Yeah.
So yes, voicing comes last, and then from there, if there's anything I feel can be added, maybe there's a scene in there I feel like can be added, maybe a 5-second scene, doesn't matter, 10 seconds. I'll go back and add that in if I can.
Okay, rad. And I suppose that also stops you from getting too wordy with your scripts as well, because you kind of got a lot of your action beats set up, so you know that, okay, I've got like 10 seconds for dialogue here, or 2 seconds for dialogue, as opposed to like writing out this massive exposition and then trying to build everything around that.
Yeah, it's very hard to. So when I write down the scripts, I write down like a general idea of what they're going to be saying, and then from there, like, what's it going to lead to? Are they going to fight after that? Is it going to transition to another scene? But even with that writing, it's going to change a lot, because once the sound effects and everything, the clips are trimmed, I have to put the dialogue in right there with the timing. I have to work with that timing. So I'll have to cut a lot of extra stuff out or change what they're saying, for it to fit right.
Okay, cool.
putting your dialogue under a bit of a cramp like that's incredible, man. Like that is completely the opposite way to which I work.
Yeah,
which
that's
it's interesting. But it also creates a tighter, more pacey, punchy package. It's like if the character isn't saying what he needs to say in this amount of screen time, then it needs to be cut down.
Yeah.
You don't lengthen the shot to accommodate extra dialogue. No.
Yeah.
You chop down your dialogue.
Exactly.
It's
The scene where in the second one, Kamakura, where Destro is having, that meeting with Akuma. It wasn't supposed to have as much dialogue in there, but I had a lot more room to play with all the extra angles I shot. So I was like, let me add some more dialogue in here. And sure enough, you just fit more. You just work with it as you go.
The most suspenseful sushi in all of Tokyo, the drum roll. Dude, you got some great gags as well. Honestly, like I think I burst out laughing big time in a couple of places, but none more so than was it? I'm gonna shove that Rubik's cube so far up your brother's ass that you're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
In respect to Tomex and Zamots, like that's using their ridiculous cartoon calling card in a very humorous way and very adult way. Like this is not your kiddies GI Joe, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's I didn't want to. I wanted to make it, maybe PG-13, maybe a little bit rated R, but I know a lot of my my people who watch my videos, the type of stuff they find funny. So I got to throw in a little comedic relief here and there, give them something to laugh at.
The banter is top shelf, and the fact that you cram that banter into shot lengths that are already kind of frozen, even more impressive. Because as you know, comedy needs timing. It needs kind of a setup and a payoff.
Yeah.
And a little bit of anticipation before it. But it reads, man. It really works. Right.
And I also wanted to ask you guys too. I don't know if we'll get to that, but I want to know what your guys' particular favorite scene out of the two movies that I did. What was your favorite scene?
Oh, okay.
I know.
I'll stick
I
with
know
that.
Big Steven on my YouTube. Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, I thought of one ahead of time, so I'll give the boys a chance to think by unveiling mine. Love anytime you have figures submerged. So where Recondo and Outback are closing in on the Cobra base that has Duke and Roadblock Prisoner, and they're kind of sneaking up in the water, under the water. Spirit takes the shot, and Outback catches the dead Viper, like as he goes into the like. That's just amazing bit of choreography there.
Yeah.
The arms reaching out of the water, the shot, the Viper falls, and the soundscape also just supports it so nicely. So that's far and away my favorite little moment there. If I was to isolate a single moment, also the lighting was. I mean, we're using a lot of different color LEDs because it's very stylized at that point. They're like some pink hues, some deep blue hues. Like it's you've played with the color correction quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah. Usually I use about 2 ring lights, just I could lower the white light that really just makes the figures pop where you can see them. But the colorful lights, those all come from cheap LED lights you'll find at your nearest dollar store or Five Below. I'll try to mix in maybe about 2 or 3 little small lights at different angles to, is it showing his right side face a little too much, too little? Let me move it a little bit to the left or right. So, yeah, cheap lights.
Cheap LEDs have changed the game. I noticed that the way you set up Destro driving on the streets of Tokyo. I mean, you have side projection with a screen behind it, like a driving sequence, very old school. Love rear and side projections, very cool. But then also above him, you've got sort of LED rainbow lights that are like doing a kind of a chase.
Exactly.
Blue to yellow to pink, and that just sets up so much motion. Like between the two, you've got the effect. It's there. I believe him driving. Very, very cool. Anyway, my favorite scene in Kamakura. Let's see. Do I have it written down? Oh man, well, just so many fuck yeah moments in the combat itself. Like Kamakura flips a sword off the floor and then a catch.
Catches it. That is one of mine.
Thanks to the motion of the camera, we believe that it's flipped off the floor and into his hands, even though, physically the figures haven't done that.
Yeah.
But we believe that that's exactly what's happened, and it's
split framing.
It's gorgeous. So that's me. Paul, Rob, can you isolate just off the top of your heads? It's tough. I did this while I was watching.
I've got mine and it's ready, but I haven't heard from Rob.
You haven't heard from me yet because I
thought you were dead.
Mine. No, so I think so from the classified one, I really enjoyed the fight team between was the Spirit and Crocmaster, which I thought was really awesome. It kind of like, and their banter was really good. It kind of felt like how you get the banter between Storm Shadow and Spirit in the cartoon.
Yeah.
But they kind of like instantly set up as like antagonists to each other, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And they kind of like use their own like abilities. Well, not really abilities, but like, you know, at the last moment, Freedom kind of comes down and like saves him. And Crocmaster's like, "You'll never see the last of me." I mean, yes. And then in Kamakura, I don't know why. It's like all hell breaks loose in the room with the sushi, and then like Deathstroke is knocked over his chair, but then you kind of like follow his point of view, and you actually like see the camera, and you see the
ring lights.
The ring lights above him. I don't know why, but I love that shot. This is like he just falls down, and he's like, gotta get up.
Yeah. Well, it's rewarding, like a kind of a deep watch, because you know, if you're watching just kind of casually, it's a cool like camera trick, you know. You're going POV for some very dynamic action. But if you're watching, I suppose, like us nerds, and you're like, "Oh, hey, I see a little bit of set there. I see a little bit of lighting."
I thought it was cool. So cool.
There's no roof above this apartment.
Kind of like breaking the fourth wall, which I quite enjoyed.
That's awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
Thank you, guys.
And the head chopping scene was pretty good too, where you kind of like you kind of get the feeling of the motion of him moving past him. And then the head kind of like rolling like in front of Kamakura. So it's like and then it rolls.
There are a few clever disembodying tricks, and that's one of them, because you kind of move the peg of the neck to the back so you don't see it, and you can kind of have the head roll alongside. But then there's another time that I think you've even topped that, where Kamakura's in his, I suppose his kind of, I don't know, his quarters or his dojo, his shrine. Yeah. It's a shrine, like with all his martial arts weapons and stuff. And you've got his actual action figure torso, but set up as a uniform hanging off the wall. So you've got the included hood, no head, and you've got the arms swiveled to be behind him, so you don't see exposed flesh. And it looks convincing. It looks like he's, you know, we're in the Batcave and we're seeing all the Bat uniforms. It's hanging off the wall. It's awesome.
Mike is very tricksy. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves. It's amazing. Like I feel like it's like I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'll leave Steven to gush.
Can't all gush. Spoonkiller guessed my favorite scene. He's like, "Yep, you got to have the cliche shot of slow-mo coming out of the water, all dramatic." That is absolutely right. That is a fave for me. Paul, how about you, dude?
Me, I kind of hinted at it when we opened the episode, when Recondo drives that knife through the Cobra Trooper.
I knew it.
And he's all like, shh. That was chilling, man.
That's not a knife, that's a fucking sword, dude. That machete.
You know, to Recondo, it's a knife, you know, potato, machete, you know, Swazami knife, whatever. But that is such a cool shot and such a cool scene, and it sent chills through me, because it's weird. Like, my brain's like, oh yeah, this is how it's done, but it's still super effective, and it's so good.
The shush, I wasn't planning on doing the shush in that scene, but if you look at Rekondo's lips and his mustache, it looks like he's saying shush.
Exactly.
And I was like, I'll just add that in. It looks like he's doing that. So that worked out perfectly.
And then, just to echo Steven on this one, when Kamakura like catches the sword, like, oh, I love that. That was so like clever. It reminds me of, and Steve, you'll resonate with this as well. Streets of Rage, the new one, how you can just catch an enemy's weapon. It's just when it's thrown at you. I just love that, and also just the sort of kinetic feeling behind it, that ricochet shot, and. Yeah, I mean, and these are not the only two shots I love. It's just that at the top of my mind, these were my favorites. And it's like, I'm going to talk about these. But there's so many other cool shots in these things. Damn,
That
like,
is so cool.
wow. Thank you,
That-
man. Thank you
and
for that awesome movie.
Thank you. I mean, that's exactly why I did these types of little things, because I know, like, dude, some people are gonna catch it. They're gonna know, like, they're gonna catch just the reasoning behind it, the coolness about it, and you guys nailed. That's why I wanted to hear, like, you guys nailed just exactly what I was envisioning. So it's great great minds think alike, and this is exactly what encourages me to just do more of this stuff. So thank you guys again.
I got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Have you taken a short course in Japanese?
Oh my goodness, the Japanese. Oh, I have not, and that's something again. Like when I make these films, a lot of stuff just gets thought of along the way. So when I was like, okay, I want this to be a very Japanese like type of film, like where you feel it, like when you watch ninja movies, they got to have the subtitles with the Japanese. So I was like, how am I going to do that? Thank you very much, Google Translate, because I would type in exactly what I want him to say, and then I would listen to it over and over with the pronunciation and just watashi wa nita, just over and over 8 times. My
So
girlfriend's
great. That Watashi wa is so
doing?
good.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I admire your boldness, man. That's a limb that I don't think I could ever. Well, now I'm
I don't know, we haven't
emboldened by
tried it.
you. Like, well, I've put in a little bit of Chinese at one point, but I actually had a Chinese guy, say the line. But
Mandarin,
yeah,
yeah.
that it's excellent, and it's. I mean, I don't speak Japanese, but like coming from a place of action movies and martial arts movies, like it's so convincing that yeah, it completely checks out. Like
Yeah,
I
as
didn't
somebody who
bat an
watches
eyelid.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, as somebody who watches a lot of anime in Japanese and who loves Japanese cinema, yeah, I felt like I was like, yeah, this guy, you, Mike, I was like, this guy cares about the pronunciation. Like, I can hear, like, and I'm not like a Japanese speaker. But I could hear like you really like cared about the pronunciation. I was like, this is so rad. Because when Silver Samurai, shit, that was cool.
You got to
And
do
that's
the
a cool
whisper
toy.
too. I was thinking, I was like, I want to make it anime too. Watashi wa nita to korosunai. Like, you know how they have that little you got to throw it in there.
All right.
Yeah, no, that
Now,
was very cool, man.
let's talk about the Kamakura character, especially because I'm trying to figure out whether you have a special affinity for Kamakura or you just got the figure and you were like, this fucking rocks. Because I know a little bit about your history, Mike. I know that you came up a little bit later into GI Joe than the three of us, and so I mean, by the kind of the Sigma 6 era, Kamakura was a established character in the GI Joe canon. But to us old schoolers, like Kamakura came in the comic books of like the early 2000s, like the Devil's Due stuff. And like because he didn't have a classic figure, we didn't necessarily connect with him initially. So
Right.
the first part of the question really is like, were you a fan or was it the figure that pushed you over the edge?
It was the figure, but also like I would go back and like before I do any of these characters, I try to go back and read about them a little bit, because as these figures come out, like it's like getting to experience it for the first time all over. Like I'm like, dude, I gotta go see what this guy's about, where he's from. So there's a guy on YouTube who does GI Joe Origins, and he does a very good job of them. He'll go back
Who is Kamakura?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I watched that one and I'm like, okay, I want to do my own twist, my own version, and see what comes of it. Like try to get it as close to the original as possible, but just a little bit different. How they do with like, modern films. Like we know GI Joe Retaliation and all that. Like a lot of the characters weren't even close to what they were, in Sunbow.
Well, they have the code names.
Yeah. So that's what I try. Like I get the figure and I'm like, what do I want to see this figure do? What type of movements do I want to see out of this figure, or what kind of voice? So that's why I do it. I just go along the way as I get the figures most of the time. But with the OG characters such as Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, Destro, Duke, those ones I grew up with, so I know like a lot of people know how those are. So I try to keep those as original as possible.
Cool, man. Like you mentioned earlier, getting the voices right, and I feel like I hope I'm not going too far from the original topic, but you mentioned getting the voices right, and I gotta say, I love your Storm Shadow performance, just because, I mean, it's really like I feel you nailed it, and I feel you kind of nail the edge in his character as well. Earlier in the episode, you rocked a bit of Zaymot, or is it Tomax, or is it both of them? And you totally get that, and I love that. Like you really do you like sit and listen to these characters' voices in cartoons, or do you take some time and maybe listen to other characters and try to sort of match that performance for yourself?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Okay, because damn, dude, you do a good job of that.
Thank you, man. Yeah, like I'll throw on the YouTube in my room, and I'll watch 30 minutes of Cobra Commander and Destro just going at it with just bantering at each other, just yeah. And I'm like, how do I do that? Like, Destro, you were expected days ago. Like, how can I get my voice higher? And yeah, I'll do that over and over and over, like in the shower or in the mirror, whenever I have time to myself, or I'm outside, taking a smoke, whatever. I'll just try to do the voices. And but first, I have to watch them and see how they actually sound.
Chris Lotta is a tough act to follow in the stamina department, I find. Like, anyone can kind of screech out a Starscream or a Cobra Commander in short bursts. But to be able to do that sustained, I mean, does it not fuck your voice up big time, dude? Doing a Cobra Commander. Do you leave him for last? Is I guess what I'm trying to ask.
No, yeah, I definitely will. I got to drink a lot of water to do Cobra Commander, because when I'm done, I'm like, ugh, like I do it so many times.
What's the man?
Yeah, I do it so many times to where I'm just doing normal things throughout the day, and I have to talk like them, like, oh, my lovely lady, I see you made chicken for dinner. My favorites. Yes, an absolute delight indeed. Like, my lady's like, oh my God, can you stop? I'm like, I can't. I'm addicted to it.
This is how I play, baby. This is the man you marry.
May I be as bold as to like suggest, and maybe you're already doing this, I don't know, but my God, man, why aren't you like go? No. Like, I hope you're doing that already, but why aren't you going to a casting director or something to get to do voices for cartoons or something, man?
Oh man, I've always thought of it. That's one thing a lot of people
don't think. Go and do it, man. Get yourself an agent and get a tape or something done. Get yourself out there, man. I think you've got a real like gift there.
That is very appreciative. Yeah, I've thought about it here and there. Like, will I ever just maybe nail a cartoon or a show or something? And that's why I do these types of things now. Like, maybe, like you guys notice this. You guys notice the hard work in these movies. So I'm like, maybe someone will pick that up here and there, and maybe want to, host me on their little mini episode or something, and have me go in there and, get exposed like that. But I don't know. It's just something I always had for fun on the side. Just I mimic a lot of people, like my family members. I do a lot of impressions of them, and I don't know. It's something I've always done as a kid. But
well, that's what Mark Hamill did, dude. That's what Mark Hamill did. Like, I was watching him on a podcast the other day, and that is what he used to do. And his parents were all like, "Are you going to get a job sounding like Woody Woodpecker?" And he's like, "I hope so," kind of thing. Yeah,
that's inspiring.
So, like, yeah, man. Dream the dream. I mean, here's the thing. If you don't get it, cool. At least you tried, and you know that there's a bunch of people out here who really enjoy what you're doing, and you've got your own world, and you can carry on. And if you nail it, well, damn, dude.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I mean, at least I tried, right? I got out there, just tried, and if I know it's a hard thing to get into, I know that. So that's awesome, man. That's inspiring. Thank you very much, Paul.
It's a pleasure, bro.
Well, we all wish you well, Mike, because honestly, you and everyone with a firm focus on the current GI Joe toys, I just want you guys to get on Hasbro's radar. GI Joburg, we're a little bit too far off the track. I mean, we're internationals and we focus primarily on toys that have been out of production for 35 years at least. But your films should definitely get noticed by someone in the creative department in Hasbro. In fact, they probably have been, and hopefully the name's being booted upstairs. I mean, it's a big corporate, and the way they operate is pretty ugly. Like it crushes the little guy. But I hope the little guy in this case can kind of speak to the slightly less little guy, speak to the medium-sized guy, speak to the higher guy, and like, I don't know, get you some of their free merch or get you noticed in some respects. Like, I know that they do highlight content creators. They've done a few Instagram channels and a few influencers here and there, friends of our channel, in fact. But you're definitely needing to be on that list, I
Thank
reckon.
you, man. Yeah,
man.
that's something I definitely want to do more of. Like, maybe if I got some sort of deal with Hasbro, like, hey, if you guys work with me, maybe send me the figures, whatever. I will make more of these movies, longer movies, make more about that character. And in the end, you guys are having the benefit, because if I scroll down
Free
to my
advertising.
comment, yeah, from all these
I mean,
movies,
you're putting in the hard yards. Like, this would be paid work if you were a Hasbro employee or a freelancer employed by Hasbro. But they're just giving you toys, and you're doing it for the love. Hell,
exactly.
that's smart business from the big H.
Me out when I someone tagged me in an Instagram story post, saying, "Hey, I had no, I didn't really care much for these GI Joes, but after watching this movie, I went and bought the entire series." I was like, "What?" He bought maybe like $200 something worth of GI Joes in like one day. I was like, "Dude,
make money, money, make money, money, make money."
Hey, you are an influencer. Hey.
Yeah, that's my goal. That's my main goal on my channel. It's always been, for as long as I've been on there, is really appreciating the little things about these figures, whether it's from Hasbro, Diamond Select, whoever it is, whatever toy line. Like, the joy and that I get out of getting these figures and what I can do with them, with my creativity, that's always been a big plus on my channel, is inspiring other people to do the same. And yeah, so that's, hopefully I continue to do the same thing with these Joes as they come out more, and also Marvel Legends.
Oh, heck
yeah, man.
You got me wanting a silver
lines with the big H. Oh,
you got me wanting a silver samurai.
Yeah.
But then again,
it's
as
working.
Steve would say, hey, no, I'm trying to find one now. But as Steve
would you
say,
keep it carded though, Paul? Because those like Toy Biz style X-Men cards are so pretty. It's about the same time Mike was being born.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that takes me back to looking at toy aisles at the tender age of 10 or 11. Yowza.
I just remember that a beautiful artwork of the Silver Samurai in the Wolverine card set, trading card set, and just always been like fascinated by the character. And I was actually quite a fan of the second Wolverine Origins movie with the Silver Samurai in it. I really enjoyed that film. It's not like a great film, but it's a fun film. It's certainly better than the first one. And that character is kind of really intrigued me.
Pretty low bar, Paul.
That is true.
Better than
that is true.
Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen.
Over that bar.
Yeah, I wanted Snake Eyes is a very slick character. He can kick a lot of ass, but I wanted him to at least get punched through a wall one time and kind of humbled real quick by the biggest guy I could find that's in a samurai suit. So that's where that went.
Yeah, I think an important thing with Snake Eyes as a character and how you handle him, I mean that is the thing, right? I mean, we've just watched 2 episodes of the animation series that we might talk about in this episode. I don't know if we'll get to it, but Snake Eyes is definitely used too much like as a MacGuffin, as like a he's just wearing plot armor all the time, and so it's cool to see your Snake Eyes getting his ass kicked a little. And that's always what makes a hero more fun. It's like, okay, cool, this is actually dangerous. He's not like a hot knife through butter now. He's kind of like a, hot knife versus a car tire now. So
right.
It's kind of a thing. So I enjoyed that, and I felt that you used them right, and I also like that you used and I could be wrong here, but it looks like the scarf, the shemagh or whatever it's called, from Stalker on your Snake Eyes, and that is where mine's gonna go now, because I feel like it's too much for Stalker, but I've got to put it on my Snake Eyes now. As we're talking, I'm going to grab my Snake Eyes, put it on there.
Right now. The scarf that you're talking about, like the brown type scarf, right? I think that one was from the Snake Eyes and Timber deluxe pack. I think he had the scarf
Why
already.
doesn't mine have?
You don't have that 2-pack, Paul.
Oh, you threw away the packaging, didn't you, Paul?
It's the Snake Eyes that comes with the white timber as opposed to the dark
the
one.
normal one. Oh, okay.
Snake Eyes with the brown pants came with the scarf, but even in the film, like I couldn't use the scarf sadly because it covers his grenades on his chest, and also the mobility of the figure just goes out the window when I have that scarf on him. So maybe for like the standing scenes or something, or when he's done fighting, I'll throw it on him. But yeah, I had to sacrifice that one sadly.
I want to perhaps dip into a little bit of a spoiler. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this is a detail that won't get touched on later, in which case I'm happy to have the hot scoop now, or you can decline to comment. But Kenshi, was he a GI Joe? This is Kamakura's trainer in Tokyo, the guy who's having a drink with when the assassination plot, the terrorist Akuma chucks a grenade through the window.
Yeah.
So GI Joe had some special interest in him, obviously, because they're the ones who are at the wreckage site, picking over the remains. Was he affiliated to GI Joe somehow?
He was not. So I wanted him to be kind of like a mystery character throughout the movie. I was like, people are gonna wonder, like, what's the deal with this guy? Was he a Joe? Like, was he into some stuff? What was his deal? What I wanted him to be was this made up character that was Kamakura's best friend. You know what I mean? His brother that he grew up with. And this guy, somehow he had a also relationship with Snake Eyes. Like they have crossed a few paths in the past due to some stuff that Kenshi's been into. So I wanted to save that for the very last part. Like, hey, like, I don't know, because you're wondering, like, how did Kamakura get into GI Joe? Well, that was the whole thing. Snake Eyes had found him, his burning body, his buried in all the rubbish, saved him, and thought, you know what I mean? Like, I feel sorry that this happened. I knew Kenshi. I'm going to take this guy in and try to make something out of this and bring him up, because I don't want Kenshi's life to be taken for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where Kamakura's story came up.
Master and apprentice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
And structurally, it adds a nice capping to the story. You've got this flashback that kind of completes the tale, completes the circle.
Yeah.
And bringing Kenshi back in the sort of a ghostly apparition as well.
Yeah.
Just before, I think it's just after Kamakura takes Akuma's head. You've got this kind of lovely moments where he kind of is released from this rage that's fueled him for the last 5 years. Very nice.
It's
but structurally the first film, like, how did you, dude, in 40 minutes you managed to get the kind of the cold open infiltration sequence, like the Cobra response, an epic battle, and then to cap that off, you got the Joes kicking back and having a great, like, just party at the end, and you've got Cobra scheming. So it's the full package. It doesn't leave you like with anything wanting. Like there's not a scene that's missing. It's like, we've got our epilogue as well to just show us that the Joes are okay and everyone's laughing and having a good time. And Cobra's coming up with the next plot.
Yeah,
so props there, man.
The first one was originally supposed to be just a little Tiger Force clip. It was supposed to be the Tiger Force guys going through the jungle and saving their guys, saving Roadblock, saving Duke. But it turned into something more, so quickly. I was like, who else can I add in here? This is fun. What else am I going to do? How about at the same time they're saving these guys, there's another story going on back at the base. You know what I mean? I could mix it up a little bit. So
Good times.
It's just the fun you have playing with these guys and like the finished product you see with the sound effects and everything. You're like, oh my gosh, let's do some more. Let's add in a couple more scenes. And that's how it happened. And I was like, you know what? How am I going to get every single character in here, to bring them to light? And a big inspiration of that was The Expendables from Stallone. Because in that movie, everyone had their own scene. Everyone had their own part. Jason Statham with his knives. You got Terry Crews with his big old, shotgun. I was like, I want to kind of mix that in with the Joes and see how that comes out. And sure enough, big battle, nothing but shooting, nothing but fights, nonstop action, adrenaline. And then in the end, a nice beer, to see how these Joes come together as family.
Well, it's appreciated, man. In a lot of cases, like you climb the big hill of like the action sequence, and you're like, okay, that's enough story. I'm gonna end it here. But to give it the little send off at the end, very much appreciated. It gives the audience such a nice opportunity to kind of exhale. So yeah, it is the full package and a monumental amount of work both of these films must have soaked up. So we appreciate it. And I know that you're a busy man, and it is Sunday afternoon. So if you want to jump off now, you're more than welcome.
I want to ask you a toy question.
Oh, a toy question.
I want to ask you a toy question.
Mike, you're welcome to stay
you
on.
Have to vanish.
Hit me, guys. I'm good. The lady still got the baby right now. That's the whole point. My baby's with the mom right now, so I'm kind of just like I'm free to nerd out for a while.
You're free dadding. Nice.
Yes. So I'm in paradise right now. So you guys ask me whatever you gotta.
So sort of Damocles hanging over your head. Crying baby.
I mean, I've got a fairly like decent collection of classified Joes, and I have opinions on the classified line as a whole. And as I've been like doing these little reviews as we were going forward, but I'm curious to know from you who, and you definitely are somebody who loves the classified Joes. What is the thing that you think is missing collectively from the classified GI Joe line?
Oh, man.
The heavy questions.
Good question.
Well, the number one is like Cobra Commander's original suit. Like I wanted that one so bad, and I'm tempted to buy the Super 7 one, but the scale difference is what bothers me.
I've seen him posed next to Serpentor, and it doesn't look too bad. Cool. I imagine Serpentor is a bit of a taller figure, but like Cobra Commander is a smaller build in Super 7. So it might work, Mike. If you manage to see one in person, like bring a classified figure into the store.
Yeah, that suit right there, and then of course, where the heck is Alpine? Where's Alpine? Where's Alpine? Bazooka needs a buddy.
Sure.
So waiting for him.
Yeah, legendary duo.
Paul, I'm curious though. You hinting at something that's on your mind, man. What is classified collectively missing? Because Mike's after specific characters and versions of characters, but you seem to be driving him towards like, what is the stylistic choice that you want made differently? What are you on about?
It seems like you're driving Paul too.
Yeah, it was a leading
driving
question.
Someone else.
Leading question, Your Honor. Come on, Paul. What are you getting at?
It was a little. So I would like a little bit more plastic in the classified boxes, and that would be in the form of just an extra hand or maybe 2 extra hands in the form of a clenched fist. I think would be so good, and also just more of a grabbing kind of hand, like an open sort of grasping hand, because I find across most of the classifieds, one of the biggest faults that they have is they mostly have trigger hands, and like both hands are trigger hands more often than not. So you got this like, and because I'm thinking of dialogue and I'm thinking of these characters in a Playmotion, and you managed to get around that really quickly, which is actually why I asked the question, because I wanted to see if it was something that was on your mind, if it was something you worked around, or if it was something that it just didn't bug you. But I just find the classifieds all have these like trigger finger hands. And I find it kind of annoying sometimes when I just want to have kind of a subtle pose with them when I'm doing like shots of them or something. I just sometimes just want them to be like, maybe even just for a punch. I want to like have one of them punching another guy without it looking like he's going to break his finger. So that's one thing. Yeah.
Sergeant Slaughter, he came with a ton of hands, and I appreciated that very much. I wanted more hands with my Snake Eyes. In one of the scenes, I had Snake Eyes with an open palm. And the only reason I had that is from a Black Panther figure. I had switched the hands out, but yeah, I need more. I agree, more open palms, more pointy fingers, and yeah, grasping hands. I really like those to just mix it up a little bit.
Clearly, totally. Paul, you need to expand back into Marvel Legends, man, because then you'll have your hands.
Yeah,
true. I mean, I saw some of those today. I saw the Hobgoblin and the Shocker in a toy shop today, actually, and I was kind of tempted by the Hobgoblin, but I was just like, yeah, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
But
like,
it's a
like,
cool.
do any of the other lines from Hasbro actually include tons of hands? I mean, obviously Sergeant Slaughter came with a bunch, so it's
Yeah.
something they're willing to do every now and then. But then again, I suppose Sergeant Slaughter, what other accessories would he have come with? So I suppose that's why he came with a whole bunch of hands.
Yeah.
Those are his weapons. Yeah.
And the crates that they come with, it wouldn't hurt to have them as actual plastic. Like, I kind of hate having to take extra care of those crates they come with that are cardboard because they get banged up pretty easily. So yeah, that would be one thing I'd like to see, because I'd love to collect those, and it's where I keep all of their weapons organized, of course, so I don't lose them. So a little bit more sturdy.
My two observations with those sort of pack-ins is that I think, well, firstly, Hasbro wants to cut down on plastic in the packaging, or they wanted to. They're reintroducing it now.
The funny thing is,
no
I
idea
also thought
how.
about this the other day. The figure itself is made of plastic. It doesn't matter how much plastic you cut out of the packaging. The figures themselves are made of plastic.
But single-use plastic. Are you
1%.
throwing your figure into the ocean, though, Rob? That's what Hasbro's trying to get rid of. But I mean,
Rob
with
is.
the cardboard,
He's like,
I really am.
I
enjoy.
don't think I don't think the design team. I don't think the design team knew exactly how popular those like lock boxes would become. Like a lot of people are using them for dios and displays, and it's a very collectible thing to have like your locker for your gear
with their name on it.
Yeah, exactly. And the sort of number pad. It's a cool bit of design that absolutely should be made of plastic. And hey, if we dial the clocks back 20 years to Sigma 6, they were made of plastic. That toy line had some merits. I'm
and you guys,
be the first to admit.
And you so fell for my trap card now as well. That was the second thing I feel like is missing. I would love it if they just, if every toy came with a random prop, like a barrel
blind
or
bag.
a plastic.
No,
a blind bag, a radio, com gear, night vision goggles, something. Just like lots of little, like just finger food, man. Like just stuff that you can like mess around with and put in your Joe's hands and kind of give the user a unique experience. And in the cardboard stuff, well, if they want to reduce plastic in their packaging, by all means, please do that. But then give us more cardboard in those in that packaging in the form of lockers, lock boxes, things that like paper craft thingies. Why not, man? I mean, these are toy designers. That kind of shit's easy for them to come up with.
Right?
They got all these great templates.
They should take notes from Valaverse's Action Force line. Those things come with a ton of accessories. Those are perfect.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm comparing them to, because Action Force, they're beautiful. When you like open that box, you're like, I got all the hands. Yeah.
But
so cool.
Paul, it's funny you should mention like the blind aspect of having like a sort of bonus accessory that there's a free package.
Jada Toys does it.
Man. I was thinking about it just the other day and thinking how I really like the Spin Master, like Batman and Superman figures. And part of the appeal is the fact that they come with, they're crappy accessories in random colors and they're oversized. But I can't help but be swept up by the idea that you get blind bagged accessories, like things that aren't visible in the package. And I'm like, I like that. I like this. I like that I can still be open to this idea that I'm not completely cynical and adult, that like the thought of getting something bonus that you don't know what you're going to get has on me. Like I like that I'm taken in by this concept. So I think it might have its place in action figure collecting everywhere, to get like a little something. I mean, Mike, you mentioned a radio. Right. Paul, I think you mentioned like a can of beer. Just these little pack-ins. Yeah. I don't know. It's probably
that's the fun of mystery minis. Mystery minis. I don't know if you've heard of those.
For sure.
Yeah, these kids open up these eggs or whatever, and you don't know what you're gonna get. You can get a little miniature, like bag of chips. You can get a miniature little, like I don't know, like I said, like a radio, headphones, like little miniature brand names, stuff like that. I know what you mean. Like that's the new thing nowadays. Just make it a little mystery. But
it's not a new thing at all. I mean, back in the day, we had Monster in my pockets. I don't know what the previous generation had, but like, yeah, it's exciting.
Kids. Cards.
Absolutely. We've got a question from Spoon Killer though, Mike. how much continuity do you have between your videos? Do you work towards a larger story arc?
Meaning, do I want to create more in the future? Like how far
Are
do I
you
want to
building
take this?
towards something? I think
Yeah.
I've
Like, how
picked
do
up the
they connect to
breadcrumbs.
each other? The
Yeah,
videos themselves.
I try to leave breadcrumbs here and there, especially in Kamakura. I definitely am leaning toward something big. I hinted a couple of things in the Kamakura film, such as Serpentor coming soon. It's not going to be for a while, but if
I'm
I
also
can,
waiting for Serpentor.
yeah, part two, like part two can go either horribly wrong or the most amazing thing you ever seen compared to the first one. Like I want to make part two juicy. I want to have more vehicles. I want to have more characters, more continuation with the story, more comedy. So part two, I'm definitely working toward. It's just going to be a very long process because one, I got to wait for the figures to come out. I pre-ordered most of them. And
I think it's
two,
June,
just
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, the season like this summer, I'm hoping to get a couple of water shots at the beach, with the boat, a nice hot day, and then like as it comes close to winter, I got snowy mountains. Have a nice snake eye scene in the snow, like stuff like that. You got to wait for seasons. So, to answer your question, yes, I'm definitely working towards something big, and along the way, I plan to do little tiny snippets with, characters themselves. I'm trying to work on something with Bazooka right now. Putting that
Very
together,
nice.
just to give you guys something to watch along the way and keep you in tune with these characters.
Cool, man.
You've got a great handle on the character. He's not a buffoon. He's the man, actually.
Yeah,
But has a great flair for comedy.
yeah.
At the same
I
time.
wanted him to be the lay back. He's built. He's scary. He's cool. But I wanted him to be also the comedic relief and someone you can relate to as well. So I plan to do that with Bazooka and his little short film I'm working on. So you guys will love that one.
Shall we move the agenda on, gentlemen? We're on borrowed time with you, Mike, so we're going to use you as much as possible. Which would you like to talk about first? We like to talk about GI Joe cartoons or GI Joe media on the podcast these days. We're doing a reread of the classic series. We're doing a reread of the IDW series. But alongside that, we're watching the Sunbow classic ARAL cartoons and the 2010 and 11's GI Joe Renegades. So, what are you in the mood for talking about first?
Ooh.
Episode 4 of Renegades, Dreadnoks Rising, or Cobra Stops the World?
I'm still in the middle of Dreadnoks. I'm sorry, not Dreadnoks, Renegades. Sunbow, I am totally 100% up for first. I love Sunbow, man. I can watch it for hours.
Beauty. Yeah, you're talking my language. We normally save our dessert for after we've taken our medicine, but in this case, we'll lead with the glorious Sunbow episode, Cobra Stops the World. Guys, right out the gate, I think this episode has it all. It's as grounded a plot as you're likely to get in original series GI Joe. I feel like Cobra's plot makes sense. They want to choke the world's energy supply. And to do this, they've staged attacks on oil fields and, I suppose, power stations. But also, they've got a fleet of tankers with essential oil that they've... Can anyone explain... crude oil. Man, oh man. Can anyone explain this part of the plot to me, though? They've somehow made this fleet of tankers disappear using a cloaking device that is powered with diamonds, and then they remote detonate them one at a time on the hour every hour to kind of up the stakes. But like, why did they need to cloak them in the first place? I mean, if they've somehow got a way of making them explode, what's with the cloaking device? I know it's kind of sets up the urgency to find where these tankers are, but like, I don't know. It's overly complicated, as it should be, I suppose.
Well, the thing is, like, Cobra Commander's taken off all the pieces of the board, with the exception of those tankers. So the thing is, allowing the enemy, aka everybody else in the board, to get hold of those tankers means he loses his trump card. He loses his he just loses. Like he'll lose. So keeping them invisible it plays to his strengths. It's got everybody looking for them, and like in a frenzy. So I think that's actually quite a clever strategy.
Well, I'll tell you the strategy about looking for the tankers themselves, and more like GI Joe tracking down leads to interrogate to find out where these tankers are. Anyways, guys, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Mike, what was your first impression of this episode, man?
Oh my goodness, you're not going to believe me, but I have not gotten to catch this one. I haven't been able to catch this one, so
oh no, spoilers.
We're gonna watch it.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy listening to us talk about it then.
Oh my god. There's so many Sunbow series that I'm still working through because I don't always get the TV in the room. When I watch Sunbow, I have to watch it on my 4K TV, the giant screen, to have those characters blown up. So I haven't gotten through all of them, but I'm working my way up there. So this one's new to me.
Hell yeah!
So
interesting.
Go for go for it. I thought you were gonna rock the summary.
No. The summary. No, I didn't do any summary. I thought we were just talking about it now.
Well, cool, man.
I think Steven summarized it.
Kind of. Yeah, Cobra Stops the World. It's in the title.
Exactly.
And they do it by using $1 billion worth of diamonds to blow up $100 million worth of oil, as Spoonkiller puts it in the comments. It's an interesting bit of economy. But hey, guys, I didn't know this. It was pointed out to me by another YouTube channel, The Weekly Planet, the other day, that diamonds are artificially rare. Like it's De Beers that hold huge diamond stockpiles. They are a lot more common than we led to believe. Like it's an artificial
maybe
scarcity.
now, but back in the 80s, you really had to struggle to find them. You have to go to South America.
And the blue diamond, the whole thing with blue diamonds, that's also bullshit. Because they actually make them that way. They make them.
Damn, man. So we are sweating for engagement rings, and meanwhile, these things are common AF. So yes, what really excites me about this episode is how you get broken down into small teams, and they each have separate objectives. Really, really love some underwater action with Deep Six and Torpedo. They seem to have discovered a Cobra like floating headquarters. Glorious design. Only gets used in this episode, but it's this big dome thing that's standing out of the water, very Bond villain-esque. And they assault it with a lone shark. Amazing. Succeed, in fact. Torpedo fires a explosive not torpedo. Hilariously, Cobra are trying to kill this lone frogman with torpedoes. Torpedo. But yes, Torpedo's got an explosive spear, which he times just right. As the torpedo tube opens, he fires it in, and the thing starts to explode and sink. Very cool. Cobra's evacuating. Love that sequence. Similarly,
Torpedo's very funny.
Yeah. Well,
surprisingly so.
No, but guys, you have to understand that I think Larry, he forgot that he set Torpedo as a really cold fish in the file card in 1983, because he came out with practically the same character trait with Deep Six the very next year when writing the file card. So if you're going on the file card information,
maybe
obviously these guys
like Marines.
Navy.
I think that's what's going on here. Airhelm is not a fan of them.
I think the cartoon, because it had both of these characters almost at the start, characterizing Torpedo as a fun-loving, like, surfer dude, that tracks. I like that. It does differentiate the two. So I buy that. I'm here for that.
Dog agrees.
Okay.
Indeed.
I think one of the funniest things about this episode is that Cobra Commander is an idiot. It's amazing how somebody like can have such a brilliant strategy, but then be so dumb at the same time, and that's kind of the charm of Sunbow's Cobra Commander. Because he's won within the first 3 minutes of that episode. He's won. He's got the world by the balls. Like, he doesn't have to do anything. Like, his whole plot is like, I'm going to destroy all the oil fields, destroy that. Then I'm going to, like, take the last few remaining oil tankers and hold the world by its nuts. And then I'm going to use it to take over the world. I'm like, dude, you've already done that. You've actually done what hundreds of thousands of capitalists before you have tried to do and failed. You've done it.
Yeah.
But alas, there he goes.
Sooner or later, he's gonna fall off that mountain. When you want more, you're gonna fall off, and that's Cobra Commander. You've had enough.
Such a clown. But how cool is the artificial city, like that floating city of Cobras?
Oh, very cool.
Oh, I love that shit so much.
There's great throwaway design all over the place. For one episode alone, Cobra has this amazing snake-headed monolith with these triangular doors and like hanger doors. They're both doors to deploy his tanks and fangs. That's a great bit of design. That's where Cobra's hanging their hat that particular episode. But there is like an A plot, B plot, and C plot as we follow our heroes trying to find information on where Cobra stashed the tankers. Duke and Ace are flying high over the jungle. It's just the jungle. I love how cartoons kind of simplify these locations to just like their topographies. Kind of like George Lucas. Endor, the forest planet, Tatooine, the desert planet. Anyway, you get the picture. So they find what they're shot down basically. Oh, chalk up another Sky Striker lost by Ace. I swear he's got the worst track record, and he's the pilot. They find themselves a Cobra. Well, it's a indigenous village that has been transformed into a diamond mine, where Major Blood is overseeing. Yeah, of course. Overseeing the extraction of all the diamonds that power Cobra Commander's MacGuffin for the episode. I really like the fact that they call back to an earlier jet design. Like there's a row of Rattlers, but kicking off the row of aircraft is actually what they call a Cobra Diamondback, which is a toy that, well, it's not a toy, never saw production. But in the mass device, it opens with Cobra assaulting a GI Joe airbase, and Major Blood and the rest of the Cobra pilots are flying these very sleek Delta Wing fighters that have been called the Diamondbacks. And I love the fact that 2 years later, perhaps even more, they've reintroduced this design and then destroy it with extreme prejudice as Duke rams it into the mouth of the diamond mine. I mean, surely a few of the innocent indigenous personnel might have been caught in that explosion. Kind of reckless there, Duke.
It's okay.
Parachutes that protect them from explosions, right?
That's the explosion happened. The parachute deploys. They safe, man.
They get blown off the cliff face and land harmlessly in water.
Yeah, with no shocks.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh man. How cool is that infiltration? Scarlet's infiltration into that Cobra face. Oh, it's so good.
The third part of this GI Joe assault is Scarlet heading to like a Cobra safe house alone, no backup, on her Ram cycle, and then she arrives there in mufti, so like incognito, dressed up as a granny, and like she kicks a tray of like tea as she busts into the place, and she says, "No thanks, I'm hungry for information." I love that so much.
And then throw a table at her. I mean,
God, like, it's funny.
It's amazing. I love it.
She's so competent and so mouthy at the same time. I think like I love Scarlet in ways that I don't think I could connect with any of the like the male characters or Snake Eyes for that matter, because he's not a male, of course. Where am I going with that? Scarlet is just awesome. It's great to see her like doing a solo thing like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so comic book like.
Scarlet,
yeah.
Scarlet. I want. That's another thing I plan to do with her too. Like I want to explore like her side of like her acrobatics, her weapon that she uses. And speaking of this scene, I'm like I said, I didn't miss this one, but I'm trying to go along as you guys are mentioning these scenes. And I've seen, she busts in, she whoops all their asses. There's about maybe like 6 troopers in there. Bringing this up, I think I'm going to do something like this too. I want, like, this reminds me of the Batman scene in Batman vs Superman, where he just destroys all those bad guys in the warehouse. So I might do something like this with Scarlet. So that's my little 2 cents on this. But yeah, as you guys are mentioning these scenes, I'm watching them.
Oh hell yeah!
I might have mentioned it before, but I think like the females in GI Joe had to be these all-rounders because there's so few of them. So with Scarlet, you've got so many dimensions. You've got someone who could fly the jet, someone who looks at home in the kind of the intelligence briefing scene, someone who looks incredible in combat, doing acrobatic stuff, gunplay stuff, like martial arts stuff. She works. And then, might be going out on a limb here, but this is an 80s like toon concept when men were men and they couldn't show too much emotion. The females, you have license to have an emotional dimension as well, which is man, as I say, all rounders, pal. Dig those characters.
And don't you think how like Scarlet is kind of low-key annoyed in the beginning of that episode? So they're all like, Cobra's done this, and oh no, what is it? Like, what's Cobra doing this with? And she's like, oh, it's a satellite that makes things invisible. I mean, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, didn't you read the briefing that I typed up for you, Duke? No, of course he didn't. He's man of action.
Exactly, and I love that because like, and I think that because it's kind of got a little bit of a subplot, or maybe like some maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just feel like there's somebody, a production member on the team there that was like, yeah, women are just not listened to, and I want to put that in there as a bit of a gag or something, which I appreciate. I thought that was really, I picked up on it. Maybe that's just also a sign of the times that we're living in today, that we appreciate those nuances a bit more now that we are a bit more sophisticated as a species. I don't know, God, whatever. Anyway, yeah, cool character. There was something I wanted to say about Deep Six as well. Really enjoyed, like, I know that you enjoyed the underwater sequences as well, Steve, but I really enjoyed that, like, they kind of went quite agile with his suit.
Yes, make the action figure do things that the plastic cannot. But just cool. I appreciate that. That's cool. I mean, why not? Like, transcend the limitations of the plastic and show this to be a dynamic character, because Deep Six goes full on berserker edge down there. There are a gaggle of eels that attack him and Torpedo with a sound weapon, and Deep Six, playing to his character of like wanting his solitude, he's like, I like it quiet down here, and then just lunges into them. It's character stuff, and it's also action beat. Man, the succinct way they managed to convey so much in a 22-minute cartoon. It's a masterclass, man. I really think that these cartoons have supreme watchability, even as an adult. Like,
and I want a Sparks figure, man.
Yes, Sparks and Colonel Sharp, our two non-figure characters, are busy trying to crack Cobra's signal to try and track it back to them in spite of the cloaking, and they have to do it every time Cobra decides to blow up a tanker, because Cobra's doing it remotely, so they can kind of.
So they have to allow them to explode basically half the world's supply of oil to be able to stop them.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy, man.
Great plan.
Who is the character that is doing all of this technical work? I heard his name a bunch of times, but I couldn't quite catch it because he doesn't feel like an actual Joe. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what the story is there. Maybe there was a miscommunication in the kind of the design phase that GI Joe didn't have a techie guy. I mean, we all know it's Breaker, but maybe back then, like, the animators, the designers on the show decided we needed to make an original character.
Yeah,
it's a strong design. Like, it certainly has more going for it than the OG 13 guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they can probably incorporate him. They could have. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's kind of like the earlier Daltone, kind of, in a way.
Yeah,
and Mainframe rolled into one.
And Mainframe, yeah.
What about? Isn't there correct me if I'm wrong. Microchip? Isn't there one?
Sure.
Not at that point. I think
hard drive.
Something like that.
Yeah, eventually we get like a whole bunch of like techie characters, but
there's Demon
back then in the 80s,
Firewall,
it was Breaker, and it was basically Breaker.
Daltone. Breaker, Daltone.
Well, Daltone came in what, 1988? Six,
yeah. Mainframe is 84 or 85.
Like I say, these specialties kind of existed in the OG 13. Like, you could say Flash is a techie guy. Breaker, obviously a communications guy, But somewhere along the line, someone made the decision, let's make a dedicated dude who's at the desk in the communications room with Colonel Sharp. Let's make a new character. I can't blame them. I mean, Sparks has had a kind of soft entry into GI Joe mythology if you count Devil's Due as canon. There was an issue or two, I think, of a declassified comic book. I'm probably getting this all wrong, but yes, he's definitely been worked into a comic book run as a Joe. But the canonical nature of that is in dispute at the moment, I suppose. Guys, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. I think the first 5 out of 5 for a Sunbow cartoon show. I love everything about it. The individual teams, the Duke and Ace, Scarlet on her own, and then the underwater stuff with Deep Six and Torpedo is great. It all comes together with a huge battle. So this episode does have it all. The subtler stuff, the more overt stuff. We've got whales, we've got sky strikers, we've got sharks, we've got everyone pouring it on to this Cobra base. Cobra retaliating with fangs and with hiss tanks. And I love how the hiss tanks, like, they elevate their cannons all the way up. I think the toy, if your pins aren't broken, can do that kind of elevation. So it is an anti-aircraft cannon.
But
you've
then
got
your pins are broken.
Even. Yeah, true. And for one very quick shot, they've got a Cobra hiss tank driver. That was a thrill.
Yes, that was surprising. Yeah,
a nice close-up of a hiss tank driver in a hiss cockpit.
That's
you don't see that in every episode. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they really spent time on it. It was lovely. It was a close-up. It was very well embellished, considering how short the shot was. Blink and you miss it, but the animators did it, so I appreciate.
I'm so glad that you gave it 5 out of 5. Thank you, man. I mean, I didn't make it, but I just love that you love it as much as I do, because I also want to give it 5 out of 5.
There's one knock, it's the fact that, oh, bravo, Paul. The only low point I'm going to list is, like, for me, the plot being as convoluted as it was kind of took away. I was like, in the middle of a cartoon, which I shouldn't have to do, I was asking, like, okay, why do they need the diamonds? And then why do they need the cloaking device? Because why don't they just blow up? You know, if they've got all the oil reserves and everything, like, on speed dial with an explosive, why all the extra stuff? But this is Sunbow. This is the 80s. It's glorious. Rob, what's your rating?
I thought it was pretty brilliant. I think overall, yeah, it kind of, you get into the action real fast. You know, they just set it up like in the little intro sequence. Of course, we have to have savage people in there once again, like every other episode recently.
Yeah, God.
But yeah, it's cool that they have like different action sequences going on, and the variety of the action is really awesome. And Scarlet doing her own thing, the jet fights. I think overall it's cool. I don't know if I give it 5 out of 5 though.
Oh,
I feel like you're pressuring me into
the cliche canyon chase. You know, Ace, it's too narrow, and he puts the jet on a dime basically, and the Cobra guy goes like very Empire Strikes Back. So cool.
Well, I'm gonna leave space for improvement. I'm gonna give it 4.5 because I don't like Sparky.
You don't like Sparky.
I don't like him. I was just like, who are you? You could have been anyone else. But what's cool about the episode, I mean, if you notice, the writer of the episode is Steve Gerber, or Gerber, I guess.
Gerber, yeah.
He was actually the creator of Howard the Duck at Marvel Comics, and he did an exceptionally long and prolific run of what was it, Man-Thing? I think it was the Man-Thing as well at Marvel Comics. And he actually did a lot of he did an episode of Star Trek Next Generation called Contagion. He co-wrote that, and also did a lot of story editing. Yes, that's him. He did the episode Contagion, and he was a story editor for both Transformers as well as GI Joe and the Dungeons and Dragons cartoons.
Oh wow!
So he was quite a big guy in his time. And I think that speaks. If you watch the episode, I think a lot of the humor it hits. Very well written episode.
Damn.
So look out for his name on future episodes.
Shit, thanks for the deep cut, Rob. That's cool, man.
Nice. Yeah.
We perhaps do need to focus a little bit more on the creators, because it's a different team each time. So we can
necessarily
see whose tastes line up with what writer.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
There's also
Rob,
some
I'm
Bruce
gonna-
Timm stuff
Oh,
in there
really?
as well. Yeah,
Oh,
Bruce Timm. I think he
wow.
worked on the miniseries and he did 1 or 2 episodes before finally leaving.
How dare you?
He's just one of those guys. He's just like, I can make a better cartoon. I can make a better cartoon. And then you know what he did? He made a better cartoon. So.
I want to know.
Shall we
who
move the
was behind
agenda
it.
on, gentlemen? It's time to, after our dessert, take our medicine. Still works, I guess. Rob, do you want to talk to us a little bit about episode 4
Castor oil.
Oh, wow.
of GI Joe Renegades, entitled Dreadnoks Rising?
So Dreadnoks Rising, basically the GI Joe team is the regular Joes are still on the run. And this time they come to a town that's been terrorized by a biker gang led by a very generic Zartan. And then the Joes kind of like decide that they have to help out because Tunnel Rat was bullied in school. No, I mean that's very sad. Bullying is just it's not a laughing matter, but I mean at least they kind of decide to help out, and they just they do something. But of course, Scarlet doesn't care about people getting bullied, so she's like, "We gotta move on, leave them to be bullied and ridiculed."
Life is shit.
This is the most generic episode of the series that I've watched so far, and it's also the most A-team episode so far too. Down to them creating traps that they use to kind of like thwart this generic biker gang.
Basically rallying the entire town against the biker gang in the space of time it takes for the bikers to ride from their motel into the heart of town. Like,
yeah, you got it. There's like a little sequence, a montage sequence, and he's like teaching them how to punch. He's like, "Yeah, you got
Duke's
it."
teaching a guy how to punch. Like,
he's not quite getting it right, but at least the car
10
salesman
minutes?
gets it. He's like, "I get it. I saw you do it. I can do it too."
How do I move my hands? I've never done this before.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I'm not very impressed by this episode. I mean, I think the Snake Eye sequences were pretty. The Snake Eye sequences were pretty cool. But I mean, that's what he's there for, to look really awesome and kind of come out of nowhere all the time. At least by the episode, he has a cool bike, so that's kind of cool.
It is the Renegade style for all of GI Joe to be kind of watered down and made realistic and made more generic and made part of a real world, with a view to, I guess, becoming more colorful when GI Joe actually becomes a thing and takes on Cobra as part of its mission statement. But I'm going to keep coming back to this. In hindsight, we never got that season 2. The thing that they're building towards with all this foundation work, we never get. So we have to judge this on what we got. And what we got, as you say, Rob, is a very generic Zartan, but spun out from that a very generic set of Dreadnoks. Like, I like the fact that there's a bit of diversity. It's not a whitewashed Dreadnoks group. That's fantastic. But, I mean, they name drop only one character, and that's Buzzer. Everyone else, if you can make them out by their signature weapons, maybe you've got a chance. But everyone else is like, there's a guy with a black shirt, and there's a guy with a black, like, cut-off sleeve vest over a white shirt and a black hat. There's a guy with a white beard. There's a guy with a cinder block hammer. They're so generic, and that's such a departure from the colorful band of thugs that the Dreadnoks were in the 80s. And I feel like if you take that away, you've got very little to go on. Like, it's just dull as mud.
Yeah, they really did rob the Dreadnoks of what makes them cool. Sorry, Rob. But they did.
Fine.
They took all the flourish. They took all the greatness of the Dreadnoks. In fact, I have, up until this point, I've sort of praised a lot of the character design because I'm a big fan of the character designer for this series. But wow, I don't know. Like, I hate what he did to the Dreadnoks, and I remember when this episode first came out many years ago. The community was like up in arms. We were like, "The hell? Like, what is this shit?" Like,
they obviously don't like the Dreadnoks about as much as I don't like them. So
yeah, Rob wrote them. But
sorry about that, Paul.
No, it's okay. It's just like this whole Sons of Anarchy kind of because obviously Sons of Anarchy wasn't a thing, but just that whole approach is just so stupid. I don't know. It just felt very. What's that old Patrick Swayze movie with the biker gangs? Roadhouse? Is it Roadhouse? No, it's not Roadhouse. It just reminded me of that. I was like, dudes, no.
Yeah,
Yeah. These are going to be great action figures.
yeah. The Sunbow series, I definitely go with the Dreadnoks from Sunbow way more than these Renegades ones. I mean, I feel like the characters are just watered down a lot with the design. Like Dreadnoks, like you need those shades they were wearing in the classic one, those big thick, what do they look like? Like snow, like the snow shades. What do you call them?
Snow shades or aviators?
Wraparounds, goggles.
Right? Yes. Like come on, man. You could have kept with those.
Yeah.
It's a little too beige for my liking, which is a shame. Particularly in the character of Zartan, guys, and this is my major like overarching critique of this episode. Is like Zartan is not, in my mind, first and foremost a Dreadnok. Like the Dreadnoks are his band of thugs, which he uses for like sort of low level assignments. But the Z children, Zartan, Zorana, Xandar, almost blanked on the name. How very in character. They are something above that. They are something special. Like this is a weird take to have Zartan as like this bully and thug first and foremost. I'm like, no, he's more nuanced. Like Zartan at his core is a chameleon. He's almost a thespian. He was almost an actor in his kind of like Shakespearean nature. He's dramatic. He's mysterious. He's sneaky. He's somewhat superhuman in some respects. Whereas this Zartan, and once again, we'll add more strings to his bow later, but I prefer those to already be in this character when we meet him, than for him to kind of develop them into the show. It's a weird left turn for me.
There's a little bit of it in there, where he kind of like it doesn't feel doesn't feel terribly important, but he does have a line when he's like interrogating or trying to interrogate Snake Eyes, where he's like, "You're not giving me anything. I need to be able to take something from the people that I
because Snake Eyes doesn't speak.
Yeah, because he doesn't speak. You're not giving me something I can take from you, because he feels like he needs to take something from the people that he puts down.
And they hint at his abilities by having him throw his voice. Like he can do impersonations, which, I mean, nice try, guys. I mean, it's cute, but like Zartan's abilities are beyond just doing impersonations.
Of course.
I don't know. It's a difficult sell for me to see him as a biker first, but maybe in the untold story of Zartan, he was that at first. I know there was an issue, I think in the 80s of the comic book run, where we see Zartan the Hitman being approached by Cobra Commander, and he's in a bar, he's got a ponytail, and I suppose he could have been a Dreadnok-ish adjacent character back then.
I remember like a GI Joe Origins or something having that kind of backstory to him.
No, it was in Error. Cobra Commander approaches him to make the hit on Snake Eyes.
So glad we're rereading those books. But yeah, like that's actually the one thing in the show I did appreciate, is that this character they call Zartan has this interesting quirk of wanting to take something that belongs to someone else. So it gives layers to that character in the sense that, I asked myself, like, wonder why? What was taken from him that he feels he needs to take these little bits back? Or like, has he got some kind of like, I don't want to call it a mental disability, but like a challenge in the form of like OCD or whatever. And like that got me like my brain turning and thinking. And then it all came back to Zartan, a biker. And I was like, this doesn't fit. Like if they had given that quality to a Zartan that looks like the Zartan that we are familiar with, then I would have gone, hey, cool. That's a little bit Hannibal Lecter-ish, and I like that. That's cool. But yeah, just
something like Resolute did.
Yeah, exactly like Resolute did.
Resolute didn't have the time to do anything else. Like Resolute was like, we need to make things as impactful as possible. All these characters are fully evolved.
Yeah.
Like I can appreciate what Renegades is trying to do. It's doing the slow build, and in doing so, they're trying to build in a very mature approach to these characters, a very grounded, believable evolution. But it doesn't necessarily make for the most interesting or entertaining cartoon in the moment. And Spoonkiller very timelessly says, "How cold was Scarlet to let this poor cop fight Zartan, a highly trained stone cold killer?" Absolutely right. The heart and soul of this episode is the sheriff of the town who finally grows a backbone and in front of his lady decides to stand up to Zartan. And Scarlet's like, "No, let him have this fight."
Don't help him.
Wouldn't it have been a disgustingly like egg on the face moment if Zartan had wiped the floor with this guy and everyone just stood around watching? They're like,
he should have been able to.
I guess we gotta kill him now.
Should we step in now, guys?
He has, I mean, but that's kind of like that. He is like
larger
than life. He's like, this, you know, when someone stands up to you, you have to hit them back even harder so that they don't stand up to you again. You know, he has all of the ideas and things that work for him as a biker dude. You know, he knows what to do, but it's like, how do you not take down the donut eating cop dude? Well, because the story needs him not to be taken down. That's why. It should have been a very, very brutal, like sad scene. Like the guy gets killed, and then like Scarlet's like, "Oh."
So
well, I guess that was the wrong decision.
That was the wrong play. I like the subtext, and once again, I could be reading too deep into this, but I like the subtext of the real problem with the small town is not Zartan attacking it; it's with the sheriff himself, and the fact that this sheriff is actually just shit scared of things that are bigger than him, and also hasn't actually, you know, gone through the right sort of steps to protect his town and to actually have, you know, law and order in his town. So these guys are running rampant, and then he takes credit
later in the series.
But he takes a lot of credit. I just felt at the end of the episode, even though they kind of let him like have that last punch, it's like, it's like the mayonnaise jar, man. Everybody in the families try to open it, and the last person's like, "Hey, I got it," you know. And then he's freaking sheriff, like, what?
Well, my favorite moment is like he's doling out all the items that Zartan took from them. You know, so like, "Oh, here's your little badge. You know, I got my hat back. You got your glasses." And so yes, now he can see so much easier like how blown up his gas station is.
Exactly, and now the other guy can remember his name.
and what the hell was his impression, his intention by handing his girl back the hair that Zartan had snipped off her head?
Weird.
Like, that is weird. Here, this, I believe this is yours. Like, what are you gonna do? Glue it back on? What the hell, man?
Anybody got
that memory?
Yeah.
So there are little moments that are funny or like suggest more, you know, but it's not enough to kind of make the entire episode entertaining. Like, you know, like there are like little bits where like, "Oh, that's really funny," or like, "Oh, that, you know, you've done something cool with Zartan," you know, that will become something else. But yeah, it's too far before where the interesting stuff will happen. Like we're way too ahead of the art, you know, in the origin story to have the interesting stuff.
But there are some shining lights. I think the writing is on point as always, in just conveying believable character types, acting believably in realistic situations, realistic enough. But also love the humor touches. I mean, they walk into a diner, and they like Roadblock asks, "How's the apple pie? Homemade?" And the matron says,
"Better,
even better, Cobra brand." And Duke and Roadblock are like, "Pass."
Also, there's definitely proof that Roadblock is not a chef in this series or any kind of gourmand, because he likes his steak or he likes his barbecue well done.
Gross.
Gross. I don't know.
Bloody at the least.
Yeah, geez. Like, no, it must, no. And also, I love that whole thing with Tunnel Rat. So this is quite a smart bit of writing, you know, just like to trigger your viewer. But they like all like, oh, please let us in, pretty please, and then they all get in, and then Tunnel Rat's like an asshole, you know. So immediately you go, wow, Tunnel Rat's such a dick, and then they get into their little van later, and they're going back, and then blah blah blah, and then Tunnel Rat, you know, does a U-turn, and you're like, oh, Tunnel Rat's awesome. Scarlett's a dick. It's very clever. Like it's very, in my opinion, very smart to be able to play with your viewers' emotions like that. And handle it the way that they did. It was just a bit obvious for me in this episode. So
Question
I
for
thought
the
that was
class.
cute.
Did Snake Eyes deliberately get captured by the Dreadnoks? And when Zartan pulls off Snake Eyes' visor, what do you reckon he sees? Because he quickly puts it back on. He's like, oh no, you can keep that.
Oof. A man filled with pain. I don't know. That's a. I wonder why they didn't say. Maybe the scar on his eye. I don't know.
Or is he so hideously scarred? I mean, that's the way it's been played in a number of other instances. That like Snake Eyes is so messed up that it's actually off-putting to see the face.
Oh yeah.
But then we've unfortunately, like, the expectation, or the reality does not match up to the expectation, because you expect this to be like oozing pus, but then in any kind of artist's rendering of it, it's it's a scarred face.
not
It's
too
still pretty
bad.
palatable. Yeah, it's like,
okay.
I mean,
I
surely
was thinking,
Zartan
like,
is a big tough guy. He's seen worse scars or injuries. I don't know.
I was thinking like Tickle Me Elmo eyes or Cookie Monster eyes,
Yeah,
but like
you can keep that.
like literally these like googly eyes. Like, brr.
Maybe he was cross-eyed for a minute. He's like, "Oh shit, let me put that back on."
He's like,
And
yeah,
Spoon
no,
Killer.
no.
Spoon Killer adds to that. How do we even know that we've seen Zartan's real face? Maybe he's just as scarred as Snake Eyes. Good point.
true.
I don't know. I think at this point, like, he's not a master of disguise. This is still way too early in his
more
evolution.
into the voice.
He's just a master of those guys. That's all.
Anyway,
Anyway,
those 8 other dudes.
Those 8 other dudes.
High point for me in the episode. Snake Eyes, as you mentioned, Paul, has some great choreography toward the end. He drops into the splits and cuts. I'm going to call him Torch because they don't name drop him, but he's got the flamethrower. He quickly cuts the fuel line on the torch. So that was pretty slick. And then, the subsequent, like, and the Dreadnoks are dicks. Like, you're made to feel like these guys really need to be, handed out some 5-finger justice. So Snake Eyes does that very efficiently. And it's the one moment where you're like, yeah, okay, cool. Let them be outclassed completely. It does also wag the finger to, like, why are the Dreadnoks in Cobra at all anyway in classic GI Joe, when one guy, one Joe, can just wipe the floor with him?
You're finally coming around to my side.
It doesn't necessarily even have to be Snake Eyes. Like, the Joes have guns, okay? And the Dreadnoks have a guy with a green mohawk and swords. I mean, come on.
And they're in America. Remember that too. So I don't know why the Dreadnoks don't have guns.
Let me rephrase. The GI Joe team have like these laser squirt guns that shoot blue goo. I don't know. The guns. I've never liked the guns in Renegades. This is no secret to anyone. Okay. Score wise, it's a weak one for me. Unfortunately, it just doesn't play to what I enjoy in GI Joe. As strongly written as the characters may be, this is not a GI Joe cartoon for me. It's GI Joe placeholders in like an A-team knockoff. So it's a 2 out of 5.
Wow.
With this, well, I'll let you guys do your ratings first. But
no, Mike, please speak up, man.
I've hogged
the mic way too much.
I like the way they did it. Like they're in a small town, like Dreadnoks taking over and stuff. And speaking of, my Bazooka short film, it's funny because this is exactly the type of story I'm kind of working on too. I want
fishing
the Dreadnoks
bazooka
to be involved, and I want a guy like Bazooka to be able to, throw dukes with these guys and maybe come in contact with
Mike
them.
Gets it. Sorry.
In a small town. Like, let's say, like, okay, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say, like, the story is what I'm thinking is, let's say Bazooka wants a PTO day, right? He wants to go out. He wants to have a day to himself. Let's explore Bazooka and see what he likes to do for fun besides, watch football and stuff.
Fishing.
So fishing. He goes to this small town, and he ends up like little by little running into these guys, these like Dreadnoks that are taking over the town. They're leaving their markings. They're messing with people. And maybe this town is secretly infiltrated by Cobra. It's ran by Cobra, and Bazooka's figuring that out through the story.
Oh my god! Yes, carry on.
and eventually it happens. Like, something's fishy going on here, and the Dreadnoks end up making their appearance, and boom, like we get to the story from there. So it's funny we brought this episode up because this is kind of what I'm fishing for with the
Bazooka and Leatherneck.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Maybe Bazooka gets caught up and
solving small problems, small town problems every day. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, Bazooka, let's say he gets caught up with these guys, but he needs some help, man. He can't do it alone. Maybe he's got to call in a few good friends, good Joes.
Fisherman Leatherneck.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Safari Leatherneck. Sorry.
But
Classified hasn't run that deep, Paul. Classified has not run that deep.
I know, we don't have Leatherneck yet. We need the Gyrene, dude.
Well, no, Fisherman, Bazooka, and what was it? Safari Pants, Leatherneck. So Paul's referencing some like 1993 Battle Core renditions of classic characters, which are a little off the beaten track, if I do say so myself.
Which I've like jokingly, but kind of semi-seriously now written into pretty much the exact same kind of plotting that you've got now. It's like they're in a small town where they're not expecting anything to happen, and then stuff happens, and then they're, and this is kind of done like tongue-in-cheek to help redeem these characters in one of our earlier episodes, and I wish I could remember which one so that I could point you in that direction. So when you're saying all of this stuff about Bazooka, I'm like, yes, I love this.
Bazooka, this is. I want to bring Bazooka to life as kind of like the feel of the movie. I want it to be like a wild Dukes of Hazzard type of feel, where like he's on his day off in his like muscle car or something. Like, I really want to make Bazooka pop as a character you would like, and just an old school brawl. Like in a western town, you got Harleys rolling into town. Like, who are these guys? Who are these mysterious criminals coming to town? And there's one man, his name's Bazooka, and he's coming in his he's coming in his hot rod, and let's see how he brings justice for this town. It's a little side story, So
I love it, and I can't wait to see that, man. With that said,
well, have you got any prospective release date on that? Give us a time frame.
Oof, this one, I don't think this one's gonna take too long. I just need to find the time, to take a couple shots. I'd say maybe about a month. The only thing that sucks, though, that really, the reason it would take a month is if I could make my own Dreadnok figures. I don't know if I can pull that off, though. I kind of want to wait until they maybe give us a Dreadnok figure, like a group of them, but who knows how long is that going to take? That's what's holding me off. Do I want to make custom? Yeah. Do they have to be the Dreadnoks? Could they just be some, mysterious bikers, some criminals that are affiliated with Cobra? But that would just take away the whole point of the Dreadnoks. Like, you got to have the Dreadnoks,
I'm trying to think which Marvel Legends look Dreadnoky, and
maybe like the Punisher on his bike, something like that.
My first thought ran to the Love and Thunder Thor with the vest and the red.
Oh yeah, the dad bod one. No,
but it's not dad bod. No. The
Love and Thunder, the most recent movie.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But that looks too much like Thor, really.
Yeah. I could see that, though. Just, I wanted to get these maybe WWE figures with the beards.
Yes.
WWE figures, just big, beefy guys that, you look like, crap, they're intimidating, their size. So I was thinking that. But again, I don't want
wild hair.
Oh, how much better would it have been if it were the Dreadnoks, though? But the actual figures. But who knows? Maybe I can pull it off. Maybe I can make some.
Mike, you got characters like Akuma in. Yeah, you managed to like introduce a character like Akuma, and I'm not sitting here going, "What toy is that?" or whatever. I'm just like, "This guy's badass," So go for it, man. Just go for it. Like, you know what? Sell it the best you can. Let the audience fill in the blanks. Let them figure it out.
Yeah.
You could even come back to it and be like, "Well, these are the guys. They are the Dreadnoks, but they sucked." So later on, when Buzzer and Ripper and Thrasher and all of them come out in classified format, you can be like, these are the Dreadnoks that actually worked because the other ones all died, you know, or something. Yeah, there you go. So you can play it in, man.
Hell yeah.
Coming back to our review of this episode.
Yeah, we need to get the numbers and get out the door.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Wow.
Just because, yeah, I am going a little bit more optimistic on this than I wanted to initially. I was gonna also say like 2.5, but I'm gonna give it a 3 because I'm so glad that the backgrounds are a marked improvement. There was definitely a meeting.
I definitely thought that too.
Yeah, there was a meeting. Somebody had a meeting. They were like, "Yep, no, we got to tighten these up a bit more," and they did. That was cool. I enjoyed the writing, and I enjoyed some of the little like character quirks and things like that that made it good. It's getting 3 because you know what? Viewer beware. Manage your expectations. You're going to be disappointed by this rendition of the Dreadnoks, but you may enjoy the story of the GI Joes. I shouldn't have to put this disclaimer in front of a GI Joe cartoon, but there it is, and that's why it's getting 3 out of 5 and not 5 out of 5. So yeah, Rob, the whole one.
I also well, not also with you. I'm also with Steve. This gets a 2. If I could give it lower, I'm expecting worse episodes, so I'm holding on to my 1.5 and 1s. But I still think the whole concept is cool, Renegades overall, and I think they can be really awesome episodes. So I'm looking forward to finding those.
I need to reframe the way I look at these because I keep criticizing GI Joe Renegades for what it's not. It's not giving us
for what it is.
Exactly. So maybe I need to check myself before I wreck myself. Guys, we've taken 2 precious hours of Mike's time, and we are very grateful for it. Thank you, Mike, for hanging out.
We have given him 2 unforgettable hours. He got to spend 2 hours away from his baby boy for a little bit. I'm sure he's absolutely amazing, but he's not as cool as we are. So.
Yeah, no, it
we
was
have
really
a link
fun.
to your channel in the description below. We've got a link to your 2 Playmotions in the description below. But if there's anything else you'd like to pimp out, Instagram, Twitter, tell people where they can find your stuff, buddy.
Oh yeah, you look at Mike the Hunter 203. I use the same name all across, man. And what my channel's about, if you like layback, you're a family guy, you know what it's like to have kids, you know what it's like to have a family life, but embrace your inner nerd as much as possible. So my channel's about, man. I do vlogs, I do toy hunts, I do toy reviews, GI Joe movies. Come check me out, man, and just thank you guys so much for having me on. It's it's a real honor. Like I'm with the pros here, like the originals of Playmotion films.
Old farts, more like.
And
wow,
dude, if I could fly out there and do a movie with you guys, that would be insane. Or if you guys could do a maybe a voice.
Oh hell yeah, dude!
There was at least one comment, I think, on Kamakura from a crossover fan who has obviously watched our stuff and watched your stuff, and he was like, "You guys need to find a way to make this happen." I don't know how. I've yet to dabble in the classified scale, but
voices
on the card.
Voices are certainly something we can do.
Mike does not need any help in the voice department.
I know he doesn't.
He certainly doesn't.
Man, I can have Bazooka walk into a bar or something, and you can have
a bunch of South Africans
the GI Joburg crew in the corner talking some stuff. You know what I mean? Going back and forth with the way you guys communicate most of the time. Just something to have you guys in there. I think that would be really cool.
That's a cool.
Us, random, cool.
And you've got a new fan, Spoon Killer, in the chat says, "Excellent show, guys. We'll definitely watch Mike's videos." Yes,
I appreciate.
If you are listening to this show and you haven't, I think you will really enjoy this.
Absolutely.
You've been well prepped. I hope we haven't given away too much, but yeah, this stuff is good. And maybe this chat will give you a refreshed appreciation on the kind of work and dedication that goes into making these. Because it's very easy to let it roll over you and just enjoy the pretty pictures. But it's awesome. Like action figure filmmaking. I mean, this is a new thing, kind of.
Everyone's doing it now.
Yeah,
you could do it.
Yeah, a lot. Like you see something, there's a lot of people that get inspired. There's already a few people I know that are trying to make their own, and I could see this becoming a thing. So
people now have license to believe that it is exciting to watch. Like, it's not stop motion; it's more kinetic than that. But even though you can occasionally see the hands of the puppet, the hands of the puppeteer. your suspension of disbelief is not dropping. And in fact, the fact that there's actual play going into making these is an enhancement to it.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, I also noticed, I think, I don't know if it was Kamakura or the classified movie, but there was at least one comment where the guy was like, he thought it would be weird to see the hands in the shot, but after a while you just forget about it, and but you also remember that this is what playing with toys is like.
Yeah, you're playing by proxy. Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
And yet, with all the added like value going into it, all the production expertise, like it's really slick.
Yeah, the hands are a bit of a pill to swallow, but yeah, once you see like the story, the sounds, like it really gets you into it. Everyone, like, stop motion is one thing; it's really cool, but and I have so much respect for stop motion, like the amount of time that takes to take a million photos for one scene. But yeah, like I just wanted to see like how fun can I make playing with toys seem like again, like you guys did. So,
but bro, I can also appreciate the fact that at times it does not feel like play. I mean, the hard work that you've put in legitimates your approach because it's
well,
slick.
he's creating an experience for other people too. You know, the hard work he puts in is to see what other people think about it, and he's creating a play experience for them by by proxy. So I think everyone wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we can play. Grown men are allowed to
people
play with their toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Grown people are allowed to play with their toys because they can afford them.
Now.
Yeah. And speaking of toys, I just want to quickly, sorry, because I got something new and it was exciting and it was a gift from Celia. I got Dinobot. Yeah. I got Dinobot.
Sweet.
He was on special. He's on clearance here. There was one left at the toy store. I went to come pick him up. And as I got to the counter, Celia intercepted and she paid for it. So that was cool. Just super rad.
Tackled you to the ground and was like, take my card.
She's just like, no, take my card. Use my card. And the poor lady was like, okay. See, those little yellow stickers. Yeah, so rad. I got him. He's cool.
What was
Dinobot
clearance?
mode?
What was it clearance
1,000
down to?
rand. 1,000. It was 2,000. No, it was 1,799.
Okay, so 2,000 South African rands versus wow.
See, yeah, it's crazy. And I saw him in Toy Kingdom when we were in Cape Town. He was there for $2,000. So
that's wild.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
Americans, that's $110, but Paul got it for about $55.
Wow.
So yeah, I wasn't gonna like. I'm happy. You know, I got him because I really like Dinobot. And I kind of knew that I wouldn't have the opportunity to get him again, at least not at that price, because he's not a peg warmer. I've only seen like 2 or 3 of these before in the flesh. I'm not going to go out of my way to buy one online. So he was here. It was a cool experience. And Celia got him for me. And he's fun. He's a fun toy. Not the best.
That's the most important part. You didn't have to pay for it.
You didn't have to pay for it, and he's fun, and not the best, not the best animal mode. Like his raptor mode, it's got a bit to be desired, but cool robot mode, and that was great because I have the old one, and that has got some issues too. At least this one's got the real head, like a proper face, which is
it can actually transform. It's
and it can actually transform. Yes, yeah.
Props on the pose too. Props on the pose. That was a nice pose that you had him in with the open claw. And then you had like the back foot sort of on the tippy toe with that good balance.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, I try, I've been shooting some like review footage in that space over the last few days, here and there, little bits and pieces. So kind of warmed up my cool toy posing mode, and like seeing your videos and stuff has also got me like thinking of different things. So that's been pretty cool. So
that is awesome.
Cool, guys. I have to run out the door because I have to get up early tomorrow to move thousands of boxes. So,
let's wrap it up.
I'll see you on Wednesday, bro.
Amazing. Comic-Con.
Your legs, not your back.
Yes.
If
I'll definitely
you want to buy our merch, we are GI Joburg on Teespring.
Ruined backs. Sorry.
And if you'd like to join the Patreon Berg Force, we are www.patreon.com/GI Joburg. You can get your name up in lights on every single podcast and watch the show live or immediately thereafter, as soon as the show has been recorded, you have access to it. Amazing. So if you just can't wait,
and other rando things that we put up as well.
if you got to get your GI Joburg podcasts as they happen, podcast Patreon is the way forward. And yes, yeah, Paul, you put up some extras all the time. What are you putting up these days?
So extra.
Well, like I've got a secret review that's coming up. I don't want to spoil it with you guys either. I've got that coming up. I've got another toy review of a classified figure. In fact, there's like 3 classified figures that are being edited right now. The footage and stuff is being edited, and I'm doing voice and whatever. It's been a nuts week, but I'm managing to get it done. And yeah, you'll be getting the soundtrack. We do all these custom soundtracks for our Playmotions, and I like to release them out to the Patreons, to the Bergforce, so that they can listen to them at their own leisure, and even use them in their own Playmotions if they want to. So
nice.
It's kind of a thing.
And if you just can't get enough,
yeah,
if you just can't get enough, GI Joburg has a YouTube membership program, and that is where I put my own vlogs. Every single week, I either shoot a Playmotion or do a review, or just kick back and share my general thoughts. And if you kick, I think it's like $3 a month over to our membership, you get access to those. At higher tiers, you get access to other stuff like behind the scenes footage. And Paul and Rob, I had no idea, but I think there was some tension the day that we shot Red Glare between the two of you at the beach. Am I correct?
No.
Like, I think Paul, you were concerned about like glass on the beach, and Rob was like, it's fine. And Paul was concerned about like spiders in the sand, and Rob was like, it's fine. So I tapped into that while I was putting together like a behind the scenes of all these kind of extra footage, and I kept hearing this recurring like banter between the two of you. Very entertaining.
Oh no, I was just curious because like I don't get to go to the beach that often, and I was surprised.
Paul
to
doesn't
see,
get
like,
out
so much
very
broken
often,
glass.
unfortunately.
And
it's all fine though.
Neurotic.
And I was also like, what kind of like I still saw cool spiders and stuff in that greenery, and I was like, well, that could be fun. And Rob's like chilling around barefoot, and I'm like, please don't step on glass, that's gonna suck. But no, Rob and I, we're always good. There's no tension there.
Yeah, you got to get in the nitty gritty out there. Like when I'm playing and it's like a cold day, you got mud. Oh man, I'm bantering with myself. Like, am I gonna get down on my hands and knees to get this shot? I end up with mud all over my knees, my elbows. I'm like, it was worth it. I got the shot.
Yes, sir. And that stuff will hopefully outlive us all until YouTube eventually dies. Hey, well, thank you very much to the Bergforce members in the chat, Spoon Killer, Chris, and Bob. We love you, bros. We see you. Thank you very much for joining us. And I guess with all that said and done, we'll catch you in 2 weeks for some more comic book buzz and toy talks. This has been GI Joburg, and we are out. Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
Burr.